Hi there, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Gardener. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling. It's July 19th. What's the difference between oregano and marjoram? If you've grown both, you know they look quite similar and they're often confused for one another. But when it comes to taste, it's easy to tell them apart. Oregano is earthy, pungent, spicy. To subdue the pungency, cooks recommend using the dried form of oregano. On the other hand, marjoram is more mild. Use that alliteration, mild marjoram, to help you remember. Here's today's brevities. It's the birthday of a true Renaissance woman, the naturalist, botanist, and daughter of the great state of Louisiana, Carolyn Dormon. Her friends called her Carrie. Carrie was a tiny woman, but she was also a powerhouse, and she always wore dresses. She thought pants were quite scandalous. Carrie was born at her family's summer home called Briarwood. In the 1920s, Carrie built a writing cabin there. She called it Three Pines. Carrie told her friends it was a place for daydreams. In the 1950s, a second cabin was built there. Carrie liked to take the screens off the windows every spring so wrens could build their nests inside. Carrie even installed a reflecting pool for Grandpappy, her favorite tree on the property. Grandpappy is a longleaf pine, and he's still alive today. Grandpappy is estimated to be over 300 years old. Once a forester wanted to core Grandpappy to determine his exact age. Carrie stopped him on the spot and said, "It's none of your business how old Grandpappy is, or how old I am, for that matter." And on this day in 1920, John Macoun, one of Canada's leading botanists, passed away. He was 90 years old. Here's a little story about Macoun's early life growing up in Ireland. Macoun wrote, "We had a garden well fenced in, and Mother encouraged us to spend our idle time in it. I seemed to prefer taking an old knife and going out into the fields, digging up flowers and bringing them in and making a flower garden of my own. I only remember primroses and the wild hyacinth." After arriving in Canada, Macoun had started out as a farmer, but in 1856 he became a teacher. Within 5 years, Macoun had begun corresponding with prominent botanists like Asa Gray and Sir William Hooker. In Macoun's autobiography, there are many touching passages about his love of botany. He said, "I would take a common species of roadside or garden plant. The mullein was the species that I took first, but I soon came to understand the arrangement of the stamens and pistils so well that most plants could be classified by their form alone." Once Macoun was approached by his future father-in-law, who was a little skeptical about Macoun's prospects. He wrote, "Simon Tyrrell, who was a well-known Quaker in that district, found me with a plant in my hand and said, 'John, what dost thee ever expect to make out of the study of botany?' I told him I did not know, but that it gave me a great deal of pleasure." In Unearthed Words, here's a quote from Philip Moffitt about flowers. "Flowers reflect the human search for meaning. Does not each of us, no matter how our life has gone, ache to have a life as beautiful and true to itself as that of a flower?" Today's book recommendation is The Wild Garden by William Robinson. Rick Dark updated this garden classic. In addition to the complete original text and illustrations from the 1895 edition, this expanded version includes material from Rick Dark. Like Robinson, Dark seeks to show wild gardening in a modern context. The result is even more inspiration for today's wild gardens. And today's garden chore is to schedule some time to visit public gardens. This is a great activity to help find inspiration if you want to make some garden changes. And if you're on vacation, make sure to include some public gardens along the way. Finally, here's something sweet to revive the little botanic spark in your heart. Today's the birthday of landscape architect Robert Fenton, who was born in 1933. Fenton was a Harvard grad, and he settled down in Pennsylvania. While researching Fenton, it was impossible to avoid all the newspaper articles that covered a disagreement he had with the city of Pittsburgh. In 1965, Fenton was a young 32-year-old landscape architect with an office at 6010 Center Avenue. Newspaper accounts said he wanted to spruce up what he called a drab neighborhood. After trying for weeks to get permission from the city forester, Earl Blankenship, Fenton went ahead and planted a tree. Fenton told reporters that planting the tree was in line with President Johnson's thinking on beautification, and that if you try to get anything done through the city, you get no, no, no. So I decided to break up the sidewalk and put it in, hoping no one would notice. Unfortunately, the installation accidentally took out a parking meter. Newspaper accounts shared that in the dead of night, Fenton brought in a high lift, a 15-ton truck, and 5 men. The tree he'd selected was a beauteous 25-foot ash, and it cost Fenton $110. The city took umbrage at Fenton's actions. After 2 weeks of going back and forth, the city attorney said the tree was cut down and hauled away by Earl Blankenship in the middle of the night. Fenton came to work the next morning and was shocked to discover the tree was gone. Newspaper accounts of this story were super punny. Tree goes, city barks. Citizen on a limb. Poetic tale of a tree somehow lacks meter. City thinks meter lovelier than tree. And finally, want meter there and no shady deal. Today, if you're looking at that exact same spot on Google Earth, what do you know? There's a tree growing in front of the building, but no meter. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. The Daily Gardener is produced weekdays in lovely Maple Grove, Minnesota. You can find complete show notes over at thedailygardener.org, and be sure to share the show with your garden friends. You can find The Daily Gardener on all your favorite social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, and of course, Facebook. While you're over at Facebook, don't forget to join the Daily Gardener community. Just search for these 3 words, Daily Gardener Community. The group will pop right up, and then request to join. Finally, I want to thank my team at Podfly Productions, where my fabulous editor is Eric Begay. Have a great day in the garden, and we'll see you tomorrow.